Hey everyone, welcome back to ChaatNChat. My name is Josh.
My name is Miguel.
And we're watching TANHAJI, the Unsung Warrior. This is part 2 of that movie that we're doing a reaction to. And if you've missed part 1, then I put the link to the playlist of this reaction series in the description below this video. So go over there, check it out, and then join us back here where we are starting part 2. And if you haven't yet, please consider hitting the subscribe button, the bell icon, a like button पर थप्पड़ मारो.
तुम उदय बहन से ब्याह कबूल कर लो. इस खुशी में वो गाफिल होगा और तानाजी का काम आसान हो जाएगा.
Yeah.
That is true.
Keep him occupied, keep him distracted. Again, didn't I say?
That'd be
the
a
more
huge
we can keep him
distraction.
distracted, the less it all works for him.
हुजूर हुजूर एक बार फिर सोच लें बख्श दें इन्हें.
You want to go join him? Because that's where you're headed, buddy.
मुरादे इच्छा है. थारे ब्यारो शगुन है.
हाँ हाँ लिखते हैं.
के दिन वो थारी होगी.
जय क्लिंग जी. हुजूर.
Oh, he threw it.
Oops.
Thought they were going to be sick.
Oops.
He's like, well. What are you going to do? I mean, again, it's that whole thing that he just sees them as pawns, right? Everyone.
जो तू कहे.
तानाजी मालो सारे.
Oh, I'll bring him to you if that's what you want as a gift, but you might want to watch your back. That's a really nice tradition that they're passing on, is that because it's a callback to like their oath and their lineage.
Yeah.
महाभारत के युद्ध में कौरव कितने थे?
पांडव कितने थे?
जीत स्वराज की होगी, सत्य की होगी, हम सब की होगी. हर हर महादेव.
Har Har Mahadev. So that opening scene that we saw at the very beginning must tie in here because what's his name? Gidea? Gidea? He was there with them throwing the pots.
मेरी नहीं, उल्लू की आवाज.
आता आपली भेट कोण ढाण्यावर.
Wow, that's so much pride, like inspiration and stuff in that
Yeah.
speech. Like
And
for Marathas.
you worry about just.
They train like this since they were young. Remember, he was climbing rocks like since he was a kid.
Yeah.
That guy's eyes. See, now what would be great is if they brought out all the alcohol and got them all drunk.
घोर बड़े बंधुओं को बुलाओ.
Oh, they seem to be quite the little mountain climbers, spelunkers. Not spelunking. What is it? When
Spelunking is caves.
caves, buildering. When you climb up your faces and. She's doing.
Well,
what
she doesn't actually have to go through with it because this is, they'll get there before she actually has to marry the guy. If everything goes according to plan. Yeah, give you vertigo just watching it.
I'm like, ugh, just thinking about that just like gives me willies.
You're also scared of heights, but I think anybody in their right mind would be scared of doing that.
Yeah.
Oh, they're all tied together. Well, that was a good precaution.
The tension. Did what he had to as the last man on that rung.
Yeah, you don't want to be the guy that misses the catch of that rope.
Oh. I see him do it all the time. He's incredible climbers, and it just freaks me out.
Whenever I see stuff like that, it reminds me of the movie Vertical Limit.
Yep.
And that movie freaked me out as a kid.
Oh wow, very cool.
I love that.
It's making me so jittery nervous.
Yeah, they're all drinking. That's good. Perfect. This was a great distraction.
हुजूर, मरगट्टे गढ़ पर चढ़ा है.
Oh, it's all sinking in now. I think he just realized the marriage was a ruse.
Maybe. Let's hope he can get to the gate in time and have them coming in. Keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going.
He's the last one. Just in time. Wow.
Yeah.
हुजूर, हम कल्याण दरवाजा हार चुके हैं. अब महा दरवाजा आखिरी उम्मीद है.
He seems to take his anger out on everybody who just
Don't
tells
want to
him.
be the messenger, though.
Yeah.
Definitely. I mean, but when you have that kind of reputation, that's when people stop wanting to tell you things. Oh, a double shot. He is. He's using in the hilt like a hammer.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't want to be the first one there. What? Oh, a pulley.
Oh, wow.
Like a pulley system.
Yeah.
That's cool. It's ingenious.
Very.
Very creative.
Oh no. He knows some parkour.
Mm-hmm. Back up. With them so close and in the fort already, that cannon is useless. It's just a showpiece.
Oh, this dude needs to be taken out.
Jadu. Oh. I had a feeling he wasn't going to survive. Too close to that edge, man.
Yeah. Grab him and take him with you.
It's a perfect time right there to just kick him in the butt and topple him over. What are the chances that they get it right on the first shot, though?
Exactly.
You know, because you gotta recalibrate, right?
And I wonder, did they ever fire this before?
Could it just explode in their face? Oh. Dude, it's too early to be taking shots, man.
He's got a horse, buddy.
He felt that on his face too, like how close that was. He's like, oh man. Just scraping a little too close for comfort, you know? Well, fortunately, they're using a very long fuse.
Yeah. He could use that shield of his that has a nice edge onto it to just kind of take it out. It got longer there for a second. He's going for the fuse. He's going for the kill.
Or chop his arm off, it looks like. Oh, yeah.
Yep.
That's where it was aiming.
Yeah.
And it brings you full circle to his dad. It's kind of a little late, right? I mean, if you're going to do something. At least it was a clean cut.
Yep.
Need to cauterize that quick and it'll bleed out.
Oi, got him. Yeah, dude. I may be down, but I'm not out just yet.
The fact that I mean, imagine if he had 2 arms. He's a match for him with 1 arm. Oh.
Oh. Start could roll.
Roll
Stuff
backwards or forwards?
backwards.
I was hoping somebody would use one of those. They all carry them around. Oh. He's like, man, I already sacrificed it, so. Oh, that's gotta be so painful.
It's moving.
Oh, and the weight of that too. Ah, that guy's a beast. That's a fitting end to him, actually, to go down with the cannon
Yeah.
that he was so prideful of.
Yeah. And it's daybreak. As I said, 2 times a day, sunrise and sunset.
She feels it. Yeah.
गढ़ हला और सिर्फ अकेला।
लाखों का पालनहार उस दिन फूट फूट कर रोया था। कोंढाना को जीत कर तान्या आज भगवे में समाया था। रायबा का लग्न रचाया था।
Oh, he even said that, right? Like when he was joking with his son, he's like, well, the king will definitely be there. And he's like, but will I is the question. Oh, that is a ton of candles.
Yeah. It's way impressive. Beautiful.
Remember, they'll write about him in history. And he said, who's going to write it? I'll write it.
This is a nice flashback.
Oh, she kept her promise.
Wow. Well, first off, I like that we have a historical event that's being told in a way that we can relate to the people that were those people at that time. And it makes me think of all that had to be done to win and how much sacrifice, not only for, those that the story is around, but everyone else around it as well. You see it all the way from the mother who lost her son, he was a first-time soldier. He was the one that was going to open the gate and everything. All right, and he may not have been the best soldier, but he did what he needed to do. And getting kind of choked up, he died with honor. So yeah, it just makes me think about all that everyone had to sacrifice in order for them to have their freedom. I think it was very well done throughout. There was enough glimpse on everybody along the way. I mean, even the princess who they killed her husband, and now this evil person who had done it, who used to be a childhood friend, was now, going to just swoop her up as his wife now. And she was willing to make the sacrifice of what she needed to do to keep him distracted,
Well, with the intention that she wouldn't actually have to go through with the wedding,
Well,
because
yes.
the promise is that it was just purely a distraction,
Right.
And that they would storm the keep before the wedding would take place.
Right. So, but she was willing to do that because, again, there's a lot of honor in saying yes and so forth. So I think she was willing to do what she thought needed to be done in order to bring him down. So again, a lot of sacrifice. And so that's kind of the theme that I got from this is, the element of sacrifice, doing it knowing that you're honoring not only your family but your country. And then I had the third one and now I lost it. So I definitely sacrifice, the honor, and then freedom, for everybody in the long run. So I think it was very well done. I like it. I'm going to give it actually an 8.
Okay.
Saying, yeah. 8 pani puri. I can't even say it now. Puri. There we go. No. No, that got even worse. Yeah. So help me with it.
That was like a lot of rolling on that part.
Yes, there was.
I liked it. I thought it gave me some Discovery Channel vibes because it reminded me almost a reenactment of a documentary. Like somebody was narrating a story and we were seeing a reenactment, which in a way is a good thing because it means you try to stay more true to the history. And that's what I felt, is that it was really trying to stay true. We even had dates, because I'm sure everything that took place was well documented, and they had dates of when all this stuff was going on. And actually it was February, and it's February now.
Hey, wow.
And so it's come full on. And so it just grounded it a little bit more because it was almost like we were watching history. And it's a true story. And as you said, so many people, it went kind of into stories of people that maybe a traditional movie might not have explored because it's mainly just about the hero. But here we did see little side characters and see how everyone had their role, which I think is a really good way to go about it.
Even like the Keepers of the Fort was a great example of that. the fort got taken over, and they still were there, and they were like against their will, but.
Yeah, they were kind of broken because
Yep.
they didn't really have.
Yeah, well,
because they lost faith.
They had lost faith. They had feel
Because it was given away,
Yeah.
which I guess that's maybe one thing that you'd have to study more about is to find out why exactly he was in a position that he felt like he was cornered. And I know that they went over it at the beginning, why he had to go, and he was trying to go a peaceful route and say, hey, look, let's sign a treaty, and if you sign this treaty, then maybe there will be less bloodshed.
Yeah.
But you're giving them a fort that literally has direct view of the main castle, which I feel like is like an oversight, because if they could build a cannon that can point directly at you without anything in between you, it seems like kind of a terrible thing to give up.
Yeah.
Although maybe they pressured him and he was in a position that he had to do that. So that's where maybe a movie like this would inspire me to do more research on the actual events to find out exactly why those particular positions
Were given up.
were given and why he was helpless in doing that. So that's interesting. But at the same time, it did feel like the documentary style because we didn't go too deep into character arcs.
Right.
It didn't really feel like there was like any sort of like, I don't know, it's hard to explain, but I didn't feel like we spent enough time with a character through a full story, like the way there or the way here. Because oftentimes it's about the journey, not about the end. And I felt like this was cut around the high points. Like we cut to them at this battle, and then we cut to them at this battle, then we cut to them at this, but you know what I mean? And so we skip over a lot of those journey points,
Right.
which in a movie, for example, and I know this is based on reality, and that's why I think they made it more historical doing this, is because that's what's documented. The
Right.
battles are what's documented, and what's less documented is the in-between, so that's where you have to like come up with stuff.
yeah.
And here they didn't do that, which you can appreciate, I can appreciate. So I see this more as like a documentary of historical facts, whereas if you go watch something that is not historical, that is fake and made up, like Lord of the Rings. Think
Right.
about the journey
Right.
of Lord of the Rings. Like, it's all about the journey to
Yes.
get the ring to the mountain and throw it into melt it or whatever,
Yep,
right?
right.
Where that's not historical and it didn't feel historical, but this movie was, and it was cut around the battles that were well documented. So that is what I wanted to explain, and the reason I keep reiterating myself is because I know someone in the comments is going to be like, this is a true story, it's true. I mean, the same thing happened on Shava trailer. I mean, we mentioned multiple times that it's a true story and we
Right.
went into it, but because I mentioned Game of Thrones, so many people believed that I was saying that it was fake and fantasy.
Right.
And I'm like, no.
No.
So I don't want there to be any misinterpretation of what I'm saying, that yes, this is historical, it is a true story, and I felt that while watching it because it was cut around the battles.
Right. Right.
Now,
right.
I really like the set design and the costumes.
The
because
costumes,
it
I gotta
was-
say, the costumes were pretty incredible.
Yeah.
They were really pretty incredible.
Yeah, but at the same time, to be fair, I'm not just going to sugarcoat everything. There was some issues with VFX, and since I come from VFX, I can spot those. Now, you have to take it with a grain of salt because the budgets are very low. So what they're able to accomplish, and I always have to say that in every single one of these movies, because what you're able to accomplish with a very, very small budget is actually pretty impressive. And it's just like little tweaks, like, like tracking issues or just perspective issues, because there were a couple times where the perspective was a little off,
Yep.
which makes it feel a little strange.
Right.
But it was still very impressive in the end, and I really liked that. And when there was CG, it was like kind of super obvious it was CG. But again, with more of a budget,
You
then
could
that
do a whole
becomes
lot
less
more.
less of an issue, is the integration.
And it wasn't so much that at least for me, I mean, because again, I noticed some of it too and made a comment about a couple of them. It didn't take me that much out of the story. And so it accomplished what it needed to do to continue with the story and going forward and so forth.
Yeah.
So.
And yeah, I mean, I appreciate the acting skills. I mean, Kajol, she's just amazing. She didn't have a very big part here,
Yeah.
but when she was on screen, she made you feel it. She really did.
Yeah.
And, you know, like the inspirational, like courageous, like monologues before the battle, right? And when you have a movie like this, that's what you need to nail. Do you inspire your audience?
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm not a Marathi, but it made me really feel super like, oh my God, Marathis are so cool. And I'm just like, I'm kind of jealous because of your lineage, because you have like
A million Marathi in one Marathi.
yeah.
I'm like, that's cool. That's a great. You could have bumper stickers made with that.
Yeah, and so that's the thing which I think you nail with a movie like this is when
Yeah.
you can get somebody that's not from Maharashtra to feel like jealous, like for, I mean, in a way, because it's like, guys, way to like be amazing and your lineage and all that, right? And so it just makes me in awe of, you know, that people can just come from such a background to fight back against such, because think about how big of an opponent, and they said it accurately too, which is the when they're talking about the Mahabharat war, you know, between the families, and it was like 5 versus like 100, and who won? The 5 won.
Yeah.
And so when you hear stories like that, it's actually like really just wow, you know, anything is possible. And even the kid that wasn't the best soldier, Gideon, something like that.
Yeah, I think it was Gideon.
So he kept saying Jadu, Jadu, which means magic.
Yeah.
And, you know, because it is, it's almost like, wow, you guys, it's so unbelievable. It's almost like magic, right? And the fact that he was able to succeed so much and get as far as he did and do what he went there and accomplish and paid the sacrifice just like TANHAJI did. All right, I have to give it a rating.
Yeah.
I'm not just rating this on the story. If I was rating on the story and the events that transpired and the history, so that's one thing that I have to, I guess, say, is because the history of it, and I know people have sentiments, and so for the history of it, I would say learning about it and all that stuff, I loved it, and based on the lessons and that sort of stuff about him and about the Maratha Empire, I mean, I'd have to give that a 10 based on the history and learning about what happened. And I was really into the story of the historical story beside it. But rating it as a movie, there are a couple things that I wish maybe would have been added, because I'm not too into those documentaries. So if there was more of the journey, I know that it's not historically accurate, or that you can say that, look, we based it on actual events, but to make it a movie, we added some like journey along the way where we got to know some characters more deeply and we had more of a story arc. So with that, I don't know, but Saif Ali Khan was really good too. He makes a really good villain. His face is just like
He was pretty
when
good.
he wants to be creepy, he can be creepy,
Yeah,
man.
he was pretty creepy. at
So, all right, I'm gonna give it a 7 because I thought it was good, and I would probably recommend this because it did give a lot of historical information that I think if somebody is new to learning about this is a way to dip your toes in the water, but you'd have to still do your own research, because this really just showed you the cool battles and stuff like that and show you how it all transpired. But I think learning more about the history, and this might inspire you to learn more about the history.
Yeah.
And I think that's what is really good about this movie, is it will inspire me to learn more, hopefully inspire you to learn more about it.
Yeah, one of the thoughts that occurred to me was when we were seeing, I'm trying to remember the Mughal king, when he was in his court.
Yeah.
I was like going, did we go to one of the places where he was at?
Yeah.
And I was like quickly trying to map in my mind where he was and all of that, because I remember I did say that, when we were visiting some of the one red fort in where I fell.
Yeah, so we went to 2. There's one that's in Agra, and then there's another one that's in Delhi, and we actually went to both of them.
Right.
And in both of them, I think it's called like as in, because means so where he would hold the public court would be like the regular people would come, but then he'd have like an inner one where it would just be his like closest advisors, which would be super secure. But the one that we saw, I think, was the geez, I forgot the name of it. But anyway, yes, we were there and we were at the one in Delhi, and we saw that all adorned with the inlay art and all that sort of stuff.
So I was just kind of like going, it would have been interesting if, for a second there we had froze the frame, and I was like, wait, do we have a picture of it to match it up? Or something? That would have been kind of cool just to see. Because again, I think, that, again, back to what I had said early on, it really made me think of what life was like during that time. And any time that it makes me think about, I stood in that kind of same place, and now I'm seeing what was in an enactment. What happened. I think that's really cool, because a lot of times we get so far away from history and we just can't. We read about it when we go to a museum or a site or something, and we read about it, but we can't necessarily visualize and put it all together. And this was kind of making it a little bit all together for me, and I thought that would be really, really cool.
Well, that you're hitting on a point that I actually mentioned when we were in Delhi in the Red Fort. I remember very specifically, because for me it was a little different for you, because I've already read a lot about the history and all of that when I was in school in India.
Right.
So when we went there, I said almost exactly what you said as I was touching one of the pillars, and I'm like, imagine like 400 some years ago, like someone was standing right where I'm standing, like maybe even touching this pillar, and all the history that happened around that too. And what people say, if walls could talk, right?
Yeah.
If like this marble or stone could talk, like the stories that it could tell. And it makes, while watching this, I was just again reminded that, oh my gosh, we were standing like right there where so much of this history, and even in Agra, where they talked about in one of those courts, they would have the death penalty where they'd have like an elephant stomping on the guy. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like we are literally standing in an area that right over there, how many people lost their lives.
Smushed.
And so it gets you start thinking about that all of these things are real, and how, I don't know, it almost connects you in a way. Even though we're hundreds of years away from that, it connects you in a way.
Right.
And I think even more so for the people that have lineage from things like this, because them watching this, I'm sure they connect to it a lot deeper than we ever could.
Right.
But as an outsider watching this, I still had a lot of emotions and being very inspired myself for the people. And I'm like, yeah, you go get them. Take them down.
And remember our guide in, I'm trying to remember. He had talked about that they did the live chess thing, and they were doing the live chess thing there, although I was like going, I don't remember our guide saying,
it was a little different, because it was more of a game that they developed where you kind of stay in the middle and then you roll the dice, and then the people would like dance to their spots. So it was a little different. It wasn't exactly chess.
But I was just kind of like, oh, okay, I remember this a little bit. And I'm going, oh, that had a dark turn.
All right, well, I actually really enjoyed this, and I'm glad that we were able to watch this before Chava comes out, because, after we watched the trailer, I'm really excited, and I'd like to watch more period pieces, and I believe that you guys recommended a movie that has Deepika Padukone in it, and I think that was, so I'd like to add that to the list, because these period pieces are really interesting to watch, especially as we gear up to when Chava's releasing, which I believe is February 14th. And as soon as it comes out, I'd like, if we can, whoever is going to stream it, and we will watch it here with you guys and let you know how we find it. So thank you so much for being here and joining us. I really appreciate it.
Yes.
And if you haven't yet, please subscribe, share, a like button par tap tap maro.